Thank you, Chair, and thanks everybody for being here this evening. My question is to Dr. Wang. We've heard from you this evening that on the basis of your experience in Colorado, and you do have several years' experience, that there was, I think, relatively recently a new approach to getting at advertising and branding. And I think I heard you say no branding appealing to kids. Recreational products must be in child-proof packaging, health warnings on the product, THC levels posted, single serving sizes, 10 mils, nothing in the shape of or size or look of edibles that might look like kids' candy. Our draft regulations in Canada, as they exist today, based on extensive consultation, cover all of those restrictions. So we've obviously learned something from Colorado and the many states that have moved in this direction before us. Let me put it this way. We're coming out of the gate with all of the restrictions that you have put in place after several years. Do you think that's a good start for Canada?
I think it's a great start. I mean, if you looked at our history, the past, so now almost 4 years after retail legalization, all that stuff was not rolled out from the start. We learned from mistakes. We found out, oh, that happened, we got to change it. And I think our state was really good about, and honestly the industry too was good at working with the state, seeing what the public health impacts were, figuring out what needed to be changed. So we implemented those things. And I think some of the things that you just mentioned are great, and other states that followed us have also implemented similar regulations, and those seem intuitively should work as they've applied to other things like tobacco, alcohol, other pharmaceutical products, things that potentially could be dangerous to children. And so it just intuitively makes sense to implement them in cannabis. Now, I think going forward, it's equally as important to continue surveillance to say what is making a difference and what is not, because we don't want to necessarily spend money in the industry to make products what we think is safer but actually doesn't actually work, versus things that may make a bigger impact. So I think it's a good start, but I think it's vital for the government, legislative bodies, public health surveillance to continue to reevaluate how are we doing in curbing some of this stuff, specifically as it appeals to young people.
So I'm going to follow up with a second question, and it picks up right where you left off. Pre and post legalization and regulation, surveillance and monitoring. Our officials and policy advisors in Canada also learned, I think, from US experience in making sure that they've developed and are developing a very good sense of what the pre-legalization landscape looks like. So we now have Statistics Canada, the national statistics body, Health Canada, one of the lead departments. We have funded university research projects. We have the Parliamentary Budget Officer in Canada, all out surveying for the last several months on behaviour of consumption, purchasing, pricing, things of that nature, right across the age spectrum. I understand this is something that wasn't done, and I can understand why in many US states. What are your observations on Canada's approach to pre-regulation and legalization benchmarking in this way?
Yeah, I was made aware of that, I think probably about last year when some of your members of Health Canada and your poison centers contacted me, and I think that's great because that is true. I think our surveillance methodology prior to legalization wasn't perfect, and other things we haven't discussed tonight, like impact on, for instance, motor vehicle accidents or violent crime and other aspects of society, marijuana use or how it was may or may not have been involved was not always routinely obtained. And so some of that pre-post, as you alluded to, is difficult to us to monitor. It's more of us now looking at the trends and going forward, collecting that data to say, how's that impacting some of those aspects of society? So I think it's great that all those bodies, governing bodies, are trying to evaluate what's going on prior to you guys rolling out. I think that's a great start, and trying to standardize some of the ways you guys collect that data is going to be important going forward as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Bernard.